Hello everybody, my name is Kiki, welcome to another video, and in this one, it is day 5 of SCCW. Didn't make a video yesterday, sorry, but, I realized I had no video ideas, and that I didn't want it to be rushed, and some might say, well, something is better than nothing, but I think I just needed a break to kind of think about content. And I thought of something. This should not be rushed, which is, yay, not rushed, unlike other things. But in this one, we're going to be talking about Seth. If you don't know, I am in the D&D campaign called the BBB, or Blip Red Brigade Bandits, which is hosted by my favorite company, Dice Goblins Incorporated. I had an entirely different video planned for today, but that didn't follow through. And this actually is going to be a series. Essentially, I'm going to be analyzing Seth, talking about what I have learned about him, and a bit of my opinion. And yeah, I'm planning on doing this with every single character. We'll have a crack at Dawn. We'll take a look at Ro and Azurai, and heck, there's going to be a George video that I'm planning to do, but I don't know when it's going to come out. It's something I've been thinking about since I joined, but you know, that's something. So Seth, what do we know about him? He is a high elf that has amnesia, and is 235 years old, or at least his body is, as the card specifies. But mentally he's more like a few weeks old, which is not great. Doesn't sound like the most mentally stable, but hey, it's fine. Now, Seth is very optimistic about his amnesia. Almost like it doesn't worry him, or anything. And I get that this is just a little, like, oopsie by the players, I think his name was, the one who plays Seth, and also maybe Gus, partially, like, not entirely, where it's oddly convenient what he remembers and when he forgets things. Like, this guy forgets what blood is as a concept. He forgets what blood is, but he can remember conversations that he has had weeks ago. It's rather odd what he forgets, because blood, such a universal concept, just is forgotten by him. Odd, because he mentions this in Troll Play, from what I can remember, but even though I think he's seen his fair share of blood. I mean, just look at Azurai. He's a blood hunter. And it's weird, because Seth usually takes charge, being, one could say, Merc with a mouth, technically, partially. But Seth really does talk a lot. He does bring them on side tangents, and it's weird. You know, for the guy who talks the most, but is meant to remember the least. Like, these guys trust him to be the one who constantly leads the party. I mean, technically they would probably all say that Dawn is the leader, but theoretically you wouldn't even be able to trust Seth with your name, let alone an entire team of misfits. And, what would you say is Seth's mission? What would you say be the thing that compels him? What makes him do what he does? Well, in my time with the BBB, which runtime-wise would be roughly a quarter, but if we are actually looking at it from a perspective of actual time, only a fraction for as long as the BBB has been going on, because the first episode was at least like a year ago, and I've only been with the BBB for since November, and it's March now, which actually is a considerable amount. Yeah, that's like 4 months, roughly. But still, his task seems to be to remember his past, which is honorable. I mean, for a person with amnesia, it makes sense. But with the way how his character is going, it seems like it's going to be through one ear it's in, and then the next day it's out of the other. Which is not a personal gripe, it's just interesting. And whenever Chester remembers past, everyone seems to know more than him. From eldritch deities to townsfolk, they seem to know more of Setch's past than Setch does, but whenever it happens, it boils down to, you know what you did, when he doesn't. Now, this is not a riff on the DM, because I have DM'd before, or at least, I haven't DM'd an entire campaign, but I know how stressful it can be. And I know that it probably wouldn't be enjoyed by someone else was just completely controlling his character. I mean, I don't know exactly the dynamic, but I personally would not enjoy it if George was completely controlled by Gus. I mean, no offense, but, I think I want to play my character. Classes. He seems to be a wild magic sorcerer, which makes sense, it makes sense that he would remember a couple of power words or ways how he's supposed to move his fingers around to cast Fireball. But I honestly kind of didn't know that he was a wild magic sorcerer until I actually did research. Yeah, I kind of didn't know. Because he had only used magic once during the time that I had been with the BBB, or at least once that I can actually recall. And they did have a table for wild magic, but I kind of didn't think about it. I don't exactly remember what the spell was, but from what I remember, it wasn't a spell I was familiar with, so I just thought that the whipping the old table out was just for that one spell, because he had not used other spells. So I just kind of didn't know. I'm not saying that it's Sedge's fault or something, it's just, in my opinion, with how he's going, he's kind of an infinite loop. He's going to forget his past by the time that he learns the last detail about it, and I feel like it's going to be another thing. Oh, he's 335 now. Oh, and he has to learn of his past once more. But now there's an extra 100 years piled on top of it. Very fun, yes, very. And I personally would... If you don't want to hear me talk about how I personally would play Sedge, you can click off. But if you are interested in how I would play a character such as Sedge, a character who is supposedly 235 years old but remembers basically none of it, and literally just has amnesia, here's how I'd play. childish. Very curious. He's a person who asks every single possible question because he wants to learn more. He has a childlike wonder. But he also is frightened by many things. I want him to act stupid, but in the sense of, yeah, he just doesn't remember. Meanwhile, being frightened. If you don't know, if you keep on forgetting what a tree is and you're in the middle of a forest, I think it'd be pretty scary to be like, what is that thing? Is it gonna hurt me? What does it do? But that's kind of the basics of how I would play him. I think the idea of him being a wild magic sorcerer is actually really fun because it just is on brand with an amnesia-esque character, with an amnesia-suffering character. It just flat out makes sense. But remember, I have not been with the BBB for that long. This is just, take all this with a grain of salt. My word is not gospel, and play his character how he wants to play him. But I'm just offering up my opinion, and comment down below who you think I should analyze next. It's been your old friend George, who will eventually get his analysis, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm flipped.